Hi everyone, alongside Mike Trossel, I'm Dave Giancola, and thanks for joining us for another classic US Open decade. This time, it's the 1970s. It had been 50 years since a European had won the US Open, but England's Tony Jacklin began the 1970s by doing just that with a dominant performance at Hazeltine.
And Dave, hard to believe, but Pebble Beach hosted its first US Open in 1972, a year that saw Jack Nicklaus strike one of the championship's most famous one-irons en route to his third title.
Yeah, we were on a roll. In the 73, the next year, Johnny Miller fires one of the greatest rounds in golf history, an 863 in the final round to come from behind him win at Oakmont.
And Dave, the rest of the decade saw Hale Irwin win twice, and Hubert Green survive death threats at Southern Hills to win his first major.
So strap on those bell bottoms and get ready for the US Opens of the 1970s.
Jacklin on the fourth. Tony started his round with 3 pars. We've seen him hole a lot of putts, but we've also seen him hit a lot of greens. The pressure doesn't seem to bother him a bit. His second shot on the 9th from the rough with a 4-iron. He's happy to reach the green, but the putt will be a long one, about 25 feet. It's bowled. Four strokes ahead and only 9 holes to play. The only question seems to be how much Jacklin will win by. Jacklin's last drive. Perfect. His second shot. Nothing wrong with that either. Tony's lead is up to 6 strokes. The crowd, eager to close in on the finish of one of the Open's greatest performances, breaks through the ropes. Jacklin survives the rush. This is all that's left. The end of a perfect week. His third straight 70 for a total of 281, 7 under par. He's won the 1970 Open by the astounding margin of 7 strokes, the most by any champion since 1921.
Monday afternoon, the day of the playoff. It's very solemn on the first tee. But you can't stay serious around Trevino very long. Trevino plays an iron to the 12th. And he's 25 feet away. It's another birdie. They're playing great golf. You know, playoffs are often anticlimactic, but not this one. 6 holes to go, and Trevino is 2 strokes ahead. The gallery is estimated to be 10,000, all following 2 players. Now the 15th, 25 feet away. He's giving Jack no opening at all. Now, if Nicklaus misses, he'll be 3 strokes back. He's birdied 2. What an exhibition. The 17th. And this looks like the end for Nicklaus. And that puts Nicklaus 3 strokes behind with just the 18th to play. 68 for Trevino. He's beaten Nicklaus by 3. 3 weeks later, Trevino won the British Open at Royal Birkdale in England to become the first player to win both championships in the same year since Ben Hogan in 1953. Lee Trevino, U.S. Open champion for the 2nd time.
Sunday, the last day. Winds are frightful, up to 30 miles an hour velocity. Trevino had beaten Nicklaus in a playoff at Marion in 1971. The two are at it again, with Trevino but a stroke behind. The 2 best players in the world battling for the national championship. Trevino has the honor and plays an iron from the tee. Both men hit the fairway and make 4s. The 2nd hole. Jack once again plays a 2-iron to the green. He reaches it for the 4th time. 2 putts and a birdie. Palmer is just ahead on the 3rd green. He's 35 feet from the hole. A birdie for Arnold. He's 2 strokes behind again, and the gallery loves it. The 120-yard 7th. The wind is fierce, blowing into the golfer's face and slightly right to left. Jack is using a 7-iron. He punches it to keep it low. He's barely on the tiny green, 22 feet from the hole. It's in. A birdie just when he needed it most. Meanwhile, Palmer has become Jack's main threat. He's 4 over par, playing this little pitch to the 14th. He has a birdie chance. Oh, that was close. The putts just don't fall for Arnold the way they used to. He's 1 stroke behind now, but his threat is ended. A 1-iron from the 17th tee. It's coming right at the flagstick. What a shot. That was almost the 3rd hole in one of the Open. Jerry McGee and Bobby Mitchell made holes in one earlier. This gives Jack a 4-stroke lead with only the 18th to play. Now for the finish. A 3-wood from the 18th tee. Now a 4-iron short of the bunkers by the green as 20,000 fans cheer him on. Sand wedge on. Jack 3 putts the 18th, but it doesn't matter. His final score was 290, and he won by 3 strokes over Bruce Crampton. Congratulations from the old champion Trevino. Jack Nicklaus, twice national amateur champion, Masters winner 4 times, twice British Open champion, twice PGA champion, has now won his 3rd United States Open.
Oakmont had long built a reputation as one of the most treacherous tracks in U.S. Open history as the greats of the game arrived. While a brash 26-year-old Californian was just starting to make a name for himself. After 2 rounds, Johnny Miller was in position, near the top, tied for 3rd. But that's when Oakmont suddenly turned on him. Amid the muck left by a Saturday morning downpour, Johnny forgot to bring his yardage book to the course, and then lost his confidence, misfiring to a 76 and falling into a tie for 13th.
It was horrible. I mean, it was like I didn't understand what was going on. I was used to watching John hit the ball on the green, you know, within 10 feet at some place of the pin, and it was like, it was the most unbelievable thing. I'd never watched him play like that.
He was just all over the golf course. He wasn't hitting any fairways.
Johnny Miller, he's had all kinds of trouble. Another bogey for Miller en route to a 76.
I think he was very dejected. I mean, it was like, you know, he wanted to play well in that tournament. He knew he had 2 good beginning rounds, and all of a sudden you have this 3rd round and you're saying, you know, he shot himself right out of it. The final round, I didn't go out to the course. We had it worked out. John says, well, if you stay at home and get everything packed and ready to go, meet me at the course as soon as I'm finished. We'll be able to make that next flight.
Johnny Miller begins 3 over par, 6 strokes back and a tie for 13th. But is he ever hot? The first hole is a birdie.
Things just started to happen.
At the 4th, he barely misses an eagle.
The ball ended up just far from the cup. Bird. 4 birds, 4 holes.
Miller, playing well ahead of the leaders at the par 5 ninth, uses a 2-iron to reach the green and has 2 putts for 32 to go 1 under par with 9 holes to go. That's a fine putt. He'll make his birdie.
Johnny Miller, he's 6 under par. He's having a sensational round. He can par in and tie the course record that was set 2 days ago by Gene Borick.
Beautiful shot.
Oh, and Johnny Miller has hit a sensational shot about 4 to 5 feet away for another birdie to go 7 under par.
I turned the TV on to see, okay, let's see if it, you know, gives us a score. I just want to know how he's doing. And when I did, I looked and his name was on the leaderboard. And I'm going, there's no way. What did he shoot on the front 9?
This is Johnny Miller. This is for a birdie. And Johnny Miller is really hot today. Johnny Miller into a tie for the lead.
18th tee, the 72nd hole, leading by a stroke. What a freewheeling swing.
We had no clapping, no applause or anything like that there. Everybody around 18, they were waiting for Palmer to come through, waiting for Nicklaus to come through. So we teed off 2 hours before the leaders.
Was 63, the lowest round in Open history.
I just ran out to the course and met him. By that time, of course, he was finished playing, but he shot this phenomenal round. And it was like, whoa, there's a chance, depending on what everybody else does.
I missed a 5-foot putt for a birdie at 11. And still, I felt like I was leading the tournament and was in a pretty good position having missed that putt. But when I walked off the green, at the bottom of the scoreboard, covered up by a lot of other names and people standing around the scoreboard, I saw Johnny Miller's name. And I said, what in the hell did Miller shoot?
This is a tense moment for awaiting Johnny Miller. Schley will have to chip in for a tie. That was an awfully courageous shot, but only good enough for second place. 26-year-old Johnny Miller is the new national champion. Congratulations from an old champion.
I was so happy for him because that's something that he directed his whole life towards at this point in his life. That's what he wanted, was to win the U.S. Open.
Wingfoot served up a recipe never before seen by the game's greatest players. Blessed with ideal weather conducive to championship conditions, the perfect storm ensued. It was as if the entire field of 149 players were dead men walking. An uncomfortable anxiety pervaded the grounds.
They talk about hard, fast greens. Well, we had them in 1974. Wingfoot was every bit of that.
I'd have to say it was probably the toughest test of golf that I'd ever seen.
The rough was too high, the greens were too hard.
You had to be lucky or a magician to get the ball close enough to par the hole.
Why? Happened to be Johnny Miller's 63 in the previous year. in the final round of the U.S. Open and said, we're not going to have that happen again.
A 63, the lowest round in Open history. 26-year-old Johnny Miller is the new national champion.
My name is Sandy Tatum. In 1974, I was a member of the executive committee that had the ultimate responsibility for the setup of the Open golf course. Johnny Miller's performance at Oakmont in 1973 was one of the premier performances of all time. In respect of the setup in 1974, there was a prevailing view that the severity of it was largely a consequence of our reaction to Johnny Miller shooting that 63 a year before. And I can attest without any ifs, ands, or buts that that was not a valid concern.
Regardless of why or how, the fuse had been lit. And the players were turning disastrous expectations into reality, including the event's so-called poster boy himself. By the end of round one, Tatum's setup had produced an average score of nearly 78, without a single player breaking par. And those were just the numbers. The anger and frustration seen on the course was largely taken out on the man deemed to have caused it all.
After the first round, the media approached me in a state of mind that indicated that we had done something that was out of bounds with regard to the setup of the golf course. The way in which the questions were put stimulated me to simply respond to them that we're not trying to humiliate the best players in the world. We're simply trying to identify who they are.
After 3 rounds, the few left clinging to that hard-line philosophy included then 44-year-old Arnold Palmer, 10 years removed from his last major victory. A 24-year-old Tom Watson, hungry to make his first win a major. And a 29-year-old with just 2 wins who was ready to show the world his entire golfing soul.
I was addressing the monster. You know, Mr. Monster, you're a good guy. I like you. Let's get along. And I'm not going to be able to tear you apart. So don't tear me apart, okay? You know, I just kind of made a pact with the course, if you wish. A little David and Goliath, but Goliath won this one.
With 1 round to go, Tom Watson leads. Irwin is just 1 shot behind, and Arnold Palmer trails by 3.
Play in the last round of the U.S. Open with the lead. My heart was pounding.
Watson, 3 putts to 5th.
I didn't look at Tom's 1-shot lead as insurmountable by any means. Whoever was in the lead, the 1 shot's virtually nothing.
While Palmer's hopes faded from a balky putter, the young Watson was getting caught up in the magnitude of the moment in the final group with Irwin, who was himself discovering the fledgling formula that would become the cornerstone of his entire career. Wait, then pounce.
Irwin will be happy if it stops near the hole. A momentous birdie. Hale Irwin takes the lead for the first time.
It was now my event to win or my event to lose.
Hale simply played it as he needed to play it and didn't fight it, but simply analyzed it and performed in a way that made it such a very, very impressive performance on his part.
Back out on the fairway to the leader, who at this point is 7 over. Hale Irwin right on the flag here at the home hole.
When you take a player's game to task, that's not embarrassing. That's testing the waters to see who can swim and who can't.
There it is, the United States Open champion, and there goes the ball.
That week, Hale Irwin was the best player on that golf course.
I never really did have any doubt about the fact that we had set up that golf course properly.
I don't think the players really have the right to say what a setup is. Our job's to play them.
What Sandy Tatum said there really applies to golf. It's the examination paper. That's what you got to accept.
If you don't set up a golf course like that, then a guy can hit it all over the place and still win the golf tournament. So you didn't identify the best player that week.
Today, more than 3 decades later, it's still legend. how a man, firm in his convictions, on hallowed golfing ground, took on the game's best and refused to blink.
I'm perfectly satisfied that we did what we set out to do, and we created what amounted to pretty close to being an ultimate test for the best players in the world.
Haffey has the honor. Right down the middle. Now, Graham. Oh, he's hooked it. It's going into the crowd. This isn't over yet. Oh, he made it through. A fine shot. He's on the edge of the green. A great shot under pressure. We have another chance for a two-stroke swing. Oh, Graham's played a bold chip. He's 8 feet past. If Mahaffey holds and Graham misses, we'll go extra holes. It's all over. Graham has 2 putts to win. A 71 for Graham. He's won the Open over one of the great courses in American golf.
Now, this one, to take the lead in the Open. He's done it. He's done it. Jerry Pate, who started the day 1 under par, is now 2 under par. 1 under for the day, the leader in the U.S. Open. He has taken the lead on the 71st hole, but 1 more water hole lies ahead, 1 more pond to cross. Here's Pate on the tee. The same hole, remember, the 18th. He's got the lead in the Open. They're moving to the right, and he's in the rough. He's in the rough. It's a longer shot than Geiberger's, but more in the position of Geiberger's than of Weisskopf's. Oh. Now what of Jerry Pate?
Well, he
2 men are in at -1. He's at -2. Excuse me, Dave.
That's all right. I just getting a little emotional here, James. It means so much to win this tournament.
Is it elected? Oh, what a marvelous, marvelous shot. Jerry Pate, if he makes, he will win the Open. He will win the Open.
Well, that's the closest shot all day by anyone, whether they were 30 over or 2 over or any. That's
how wonderful to win the Open with the greatest shot that we've seen in a long, long day we've been on television. Jerry Pate has won the Open with a round of 68. Under par for the championship, throwing the ball into the crowd, and now, at the moment, you think he would smile, I think he can hardly stop from crying.
All right, a par 4. A 2-stroke lead, 1 hole to go. In other words, he'll need only a bogey 5 to wrap it up. But on the 18th, finally, Hubert's turn to play. Just trying to put it on the putting surface. But it's short. And in the bunker. And so it isn't over yet. Not yet. But it's out. But short, short. A good 30 feet from the hole. Still, if he gets down in 2, he'll be the Open champion. The approach putt. Ooh. He didn't want to get above the hole, but that is just long enough to be tantalized. 3 feet. maybe a few inches more. It's done. At age 30, Hubert Green, born in Birmingham, Alabama, resident of Bay Point, Florida, graduate of Florida State University, is the champion golfer of the United States for 1977. It took skill and cool nerve to lead every day in the Open, and in the end, it took courage just to finish the round.
It's the win. Again, you hear whipping the flag on the stick. He must put it on the green, then put it in the hole in one putt, or else there will be a playoff. All right.
Looks good. Look at this.
Look at this. Just long enough.
Right.
Oh, what a fine shot.
All right. Reminiscent of Hubert Green last year with almost the same sort of putt.
Just almost the same length. Andy North has won the United States Open. With a display of courage under pressure that we'll remember for a long time. Being congratulated by Sandy Tatum, the president of the USGA. Andy looking like he's just about able to walk at this point. And there, Stockton and Snead, who gave it such a great effort, congratulating him. Andy North, at age 28, has won the Open. Now, let's see what Hale Irwin elects to do. If he makes another 6, he will still win the United States Open. If he makes 7, we all come back tomorrow for a 3-way playoff with Gary Player and Jerry Pate.
If he makes 7, he won't be here. He'll do injury, bodily harm to himself.
Well,
he'll take a driver. Looks like it.
That ball's to the right.
Somebody said that ball's to the right. That was Bob Rosberg. It is sure in the deep rough. Hale Irwin now in the rough, and that's coming left.
Way to the left.
Way left. Could be another bunker. Yes. But now the tribute to a man who it appears is about to become the champion. They can't give him that full-blooded roar yet, though, you know, but they're trying.
He just checked that scoreboard to be sure how he stood, though.
Yep. The apparent champion to be, Hale Irwin now out of the bunker. There it is. There it is.
Good shot. And I'll tell you, he's very glad that's over. Now maybe we can see a little grin or think about his acceptance speech or whatever.
Yep, he has 3 putts from there for a victory.
Nope.
Nope. The little one to come back now. Even if he misses this one, he still wins. Murmur from the crowd. They want to cheer the winner. They're getting impatient now.
Yeah. Well, I think Inverness wins because this will be 284.
That's
no
right.
one broke par.
A very good point. A round of 75. But he's the winner. Hale Irwin with his 2nd United States Open Golf Championship at the age of 34, his first victory of any kind since San Antonio in 1977. The congratulations from Sandy Tatum, the president of the USGA, and from the crowd. And the comradeship with golf, kind of illustrated in that picture right there.
That's just great, Jim, because he is has been a fine player a long time. He's a great gentleman, Hale Irwin. He is a very hard worker.